Hello and welcome back to the Peer-to-Peer podcast. I've got a superstar lineup today. We have Dan Woods and Nelli Singers and Tom Constable. Guys, thank you for joining us today. So we're talking about why personal estate agency is different and better. So Dan, if I come to you first of all, so TAUK position itself as a personal estate agent and not just self-employed estate agents. Can you explain to me the difference?
So yeah, I think personally the key difference is, certainly from my perspective, when leaving the high street world, I think one of the most daunting things for me, I thrive massively off of camaraderie and, being involved as part of a team, whether that be in an office environment or as a company. Anyone I knew that was in the self-employed sector worked for, we won't name the brands that they are, but other options that are available out there. And they were very heavy on, it's very much a solo act. It's just us, it's just me. There is no kind of support, no one to pick up the phone to, complain about a fall through, sort of bounce some ideas off, etc. So that kind of, for me, that was one thing that I didn't want to necessarily lose. Where at TAUK, when I first spoke to the guys here, it was evident from the beginning that that was not the case here. You were joining a team. So as much as you're self-employed and you're building a personal brand and it's all about you and your personal business, and believe me, you are. If you want to be kept, left alone, you can be kept left alone. But there is a huge support system behind the scenes that is readily available for you. So you can have those phone calls with other people that, you might be, might have had a bad day and you want a little bit of advice and you want to vent and, you want a bit of extra support. It's a big topic just to discuss and condense it down, but the support system at TAUK definitely gives you the self-employed aspect, but almost continues that environment of being employed within a high street branch.
I think I remember when I left my corporate role that I sort of came into the self-employed model and it was almost a relief of being by myself, but that very quickly went away after about 2 weeks. So yeah, the fact that we do have the support network in terms of, the talk engine, I like to call them, that work behind the scenes to book all the viewings and stuff for us, then does allow us to grow our individual brands. But at the same time, I've managed to form some really good connections because I found that I really wanted that in Dan. Obviously, we work next to each other. And now building my own team, it's just bringing it all back, taking the good parts from corporate because it wasn't all bad, and actually building that team aspect to make sure it's good going forward.
And I remember even before I kind of joined the group, it was a case of I wanted to pick up the phone to a few people that were working within the group 3 years ago before I really joined and sort of said to them, what's it all about and what's it like? And it was very much that kind of team bond, that team aim, that aim of growing together rather than, and as you said, like you get your own business in your own town and your own city, and you can offer that personal brand, but you've got to support something a bit bigger behind you. And I really got that kind of feel from day one, even really before I joined the group.
Well, again, I had a conversation, funny enough, Adam's here today, but I remember talking to Adam quite vividly and him asking me questions along the sides of what that's like, because he came from another brokerage that we won't name. But from talking to him recently, I think that he's still very much happy to be here. And I think, I'm proud to say everything I said was hopefully correct, Adam. So yeah, I think that's what differs us from some of the rest.
And Dan, how does that look from a customer experience point of view? So how does that then free you up to kind of focus on what you're best at?
Oh, massively. I think when you look back into, when you're a manager of a branch in a high street, because everything is so heavily focused on KPIs and targets and, being a part of a manager's meeting, then being a part of the meeting about the manager's meeting and so on, you're so distant from your client that you actually go out and sit on their sofa who, let's face it, instruct you, not necessarily the brand. The brand gets you through the front door, but, ultimately they're giving the person who's presenting the brand the business. And you're so detached from that once you get back to the office because of all of the mundane jobs and tasks you've got to do on a day-to-day basis. You kind of, you don't really get to speak to that client ever again sometimes. I remember taking business on and we would sell for the client I went to see, and it would only be, towards exchange and completion that I would communicate or come into contact with that person again. And I think with the Agency UK, the support system behind scenes is amazing. Not that they're mundane tasks as such, but ultimately, you want to be out there, you want to be conducting viewings, you want to be meeting buyers, you want to be negotiating offers, you want to be progressing sales, you want to be doing the core of the business. And as a manager, as such, under, again, other brokerages, from speaking to other people that work within those, you're kind of having to do absolutely every part of the job, which some people probably enjoy doing, but can take you away from, those tasks of, booking a viewing, qualifying the applicant to ensure that, they're the best person for that particular property, and, your client, conducting a viewing, taking the offer, agreeing the offer, sales, progression, etc., etc. So the team behind the scenes, are super supportive at, fielding all of that kind of work, and taking that away from you.
Let's face it, the reality of that is, if you put a property on, we've all experienced it, where you stick something on Rightmove and Zoopla and your phone does not stop ringing in the office because you've booked 20 people into an open day within a matter of hours. The fact that we've got that support network behind us, like I said, the TAUK engine, frees us up to then be able to go about our day and continue to do what we're good at and speak to our sellers and do the viewings that we've got booked in for the following day as well.
And these people are great as well.
They're amazing.
By the way, they're skilled individuals. I'm not talking ill of anyone that I've worked with in the past, but I'll be honest. Some brands that I worked under, it was all about how cheap can we get the staff in for. Can we just get them to do the basics? Have they got experiences irrelevant? Can they pick up the phone and take some notes? And those are the kind of people that are handling the inquiries that are coming into to the office, and the viewings are being booked by those people. And it's no fault of their own. They've not been developed or trained in to ask the right questions. But the people on our side, they are very skilled individuals. They know what they're doing. So you're not only are you helped, by taking those tasks away from you if you're busy, they're being done properly.
Sorry, Tom.
God, I was sitting there quietly waiting to jump in.
I was going to say, some of the applicant registrations are better than mine, to be honest.
Yeah.
I look at
Showing
that,
you up.
wow. Yeah, literally.
I think fundamentally, like the central team as well, the team of people we've got working behind the scenes, they're all just nice people. They all care, they all work hard, they all want to deliver the same level of service that we go out there to pitch to our clients. I also think our whole model was based on service. Mm-hmm. And I say to a lot of my customers now that if I sell one house a month, I'm probably making the same sort of money as I was selling 20 a month working for somebody else.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So actually dealing with a smaller number of people, I can give them a really bespoke level of service. I can really concentrate on not just getting them onto the market, but getting them on the market, getting them sold and guiding them through that legal system. And I think our whole proposition was set up with that 80-20 split to allow us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think then that's better from building if you're building your own team out as well, the fact that you've got so much more time than you did back in an office?
I think
that you're able to be a better mentor than what you maybe was as a manager?
Definitely. I mean, you don't have the day-to-day pressures that you had when you were working in an office with a manager breathing over your shoulder or an area director kind of asking you what you've done that week in terms of sales and price reductions and instructions. But I think, dealing with fewer people just allows you to build better relationships with the clients, ultimately enjoy what you do a little bit more. I say to all of my guys coming on board, like, I've built a business over the last 3.5 years based on just delivering excellent customer service. Don't worry about the money. The money will follow you. If you deliver excellent customer service and you get on with those clients, you become more like friends with them than they do customer agent relationship, the money will follow you. And I think if you can stick with that mentality and take the support, take the mentorship of the people around you on a local level, but on a national level within the group as well, you'll go a long way.
Yeah.
I also think I think when I started, and since I've been here, which is about 3.5 years now, I've had numerous calls from new partners coming on board. I think me and you spoke at the beginning. Obviously regularly speak now, and I would never speak to anyone based, outside probably, 50 meters of where I worked previously, let alone based in Bristol. And actually, utilize it to benefits. But for me, the support that you get from the agents internally is equally as important. And I think, again, using other examples, they're very much out there. You're on your own, like you genuinely are on your own. However, it's very rare that you can start up a new business and probably make 10 phone calls that day, get hold of all of those 10 business owners, and then 10 business owners give you kind of golden nuggets as to what you did at the beginning. How can I be successful? Down to the point where I'm trying to get, people that are interested in starting their own businesses. onboarding my doors, on my doorstep, because it isn't necessarily about being greedy and market share. And, we only want to be, we want to be the only agent in the area. We're building something, that's
massively,
a team.
Exactly. It's always been for me, if I'm going to expand my team, it's been about getting people that fit my mentality, fit my kind of core values as a person.
Yeah.
But I think those core values are shared throughout the group.
I was just going to say on that, I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you guys, but like every time I look on Trustpilot and I see just near enough 99% five-star customer reviews, like I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be part of something that we've built over 3.5
and they all kind of read. There's kind of standout words. That every single. You're talking about however
personal
many partners.
service, communication, over and above,
very similar.
Kind of what else is standard.
But I think that also makes it easier to form the relationships with other partners throughout the business because we're all like-minded. So it just
absolutely.
It works so well.
Whether you talk to someone down in the bottom end of Cornwall or you talk to someone all the way up in the north of the country or up in Scotland, for instance, they all share that same value of, as I said, deliver excellent customer service, and the money will follow.
Ultimately, that's why I left corporate agencies, because it wasn't to go and earn more money. I'm happy that that's a byproduct of it, don't get me wrong, but it was because I believed it could be done better. You sit in people's front rooms, you promise a service, and ultimately it doesn't then get delivered by the team because it's so diluted down. Whereas here, you're able to do that every step of the way, and you've got the support network behind you to be able to do it every single time. There's no excuse really. And that's why our reviews are where they are.
And do you think that's the future of the property industry, going more for transactional rather than sort of more of a quality over quantity sort of approach? I think that's kind of the direction it's heading in.
I think I hate to use the kind of phrase, but Purple Bricks was it was the biggest thing that broke the industry for a number of years since Rightmove, really, wasn't it? And they did so many things right in terms of you don't need an office, you can be an internet-based business. The thing they did wrong was charge really cheap fees and really compromise on the service because of it. Whereas, and then I think a lot of the corporates, a lot of the high street agents, they're all racing to the bottom, charging the lowest fees possible, trying to get the biggest market share. And they've forgotten what it's all about, haven't they? And really, our job's all about helping people move from one house to the next house. And moving house is stressful, right? So
it's one of the most stressful things you can do in your life, right?
And I think that's what our business model's done and done really well, is actually just take the human side, or put the human side back into it.
Put it
think
first,
actually, exactly. This is just a customer at one of a transaction wanting to move home, and one of the most stressful things they do. So how can we make that easier for them? Or we can make that easier for them by ultimately giving them the guidance they need, giving them the support that any kind of profession should do. If you went to a garage and asked for your car to be fixed, you'd expect to trust the mechanic fixing your car, wouldn't you?
Because otherwise you'd be scared to pump that brake and it doesn't work, right?
Exactly. Whereas our industry's become very numbers orientated, very KPI driven, very much about growing the market share and hitting targets. And actually, as I said, pare it back to what does the customer want? They just want to be looked after.
But it's no wonder estate agents have the name or the perception of that people do have of estate agents because of all of that. So actually, if we're just trying to change my motto is I try to change one person's perception of an estate agent at a time, just through service. And by the end of it, like you said, you're making friends rather than more than clients.
And also from a TIA UK perspective, how they help do that, I think is the split of the fee. Like, I'm quite black and white. The money matters. The split makes a difference. I want to earn as much money as I can by doing a good job as well. But by taking a bigger split of the fee, which they offer, you can deal with less. So you got, in the high street, I'm not ashamed to say, we had to turn over numbers to make anything half decent.
And I was going to say, I think to answer your question, Chris, about is this the way the industry's going, or is the industry becoming? I think the best agents out there, they're all going to be self-employed. So I think that's a
really good point. I think it will go that way for the right people, and it will weed out the dross.
And I think ultimately that will help the industry as a whole.
100%.
More accountability, deliver better service, and hopefully get a better reputation.
I think the best agents have already gone and are becoming self-employed and going down the personal route. As it becomes more popular, then you'll get the next tier of estate agents go and try and do it. But that's not to say they can't be successful. It's just whether they're doing it for the right reasons.
I was going to say, how mad does it make you? You go on a LinkedIn or you go onto social media and you see all these self-employed agents, so-called self-employed agents, but they're doing the same thing as the corporate agents are. They're just dressed up in a different model. Whereas, again, I go back to what we said before about like our core value as a business is about looking after people. It's about giving good customer service. So I think we've grown at a point where we've grown. Of course, we've grown over the last 4 years, but we've grown at a point where we've made steady growth and we've recruited the right people.
And on recruitment, I definitely want to build out my own team as such, but I don't want it to be that I stopped being an estate agent, because then what's the point of leaving the corporate world just to keep on doing that? It's more of, I want to be a mentor for the people that do want to join the industry, join this side of the industry, should we say, and see how it can be done right. I'm not no one's manager. I'm a mentor to help them build their own business so that they can deliver service to more clients.
And to that point, I remember 3.5 years ago when I joined, and I thought, you know what, the people at the top of this business, they're all incredibly knowledgeable, passionate people. They've all been there and done that. But each one of them has given me a lot over the last 3 and a bit years. And I talked to Mark Bruce, for instance, and he's still on the ground selling houses. I talked to Steph, and she's still out there grinding away trying to sell some houses. And you think, okay, although they're the founders of the group and they could not be doing that, they're still there keeping their finger on the pulse.
I think that's a great, mark of leadership.
Yeah.
We were talking about being branch managers at the way up here, and I won't go down that road. But that, for me, that's one of the reasons I respond to leaders. And that was kind of how I wanted to manage when I was, and mentoring now. I still like leading and, doing rather than saying. And seeing Mark sell houses, Steph still sell houses, kind of is their way of, right, okay, not anything that is broken, but nothing's perfect. So where can we make improvements, or continuously evolving and getting, changing things? What can we do differently? Like our CRM system, every week I'll log in and something will be different, something will be better, something will be improved. Like constantly investing in us as agents to make our jobs better, to be able to deliver those values to the clients.
And going back to what you said earlier, in terms of like all of us across the country, we've all grown good businesses and we've all got busier as it is, but every one of us will still find the time to pick up the phone if you're struggling with something or you can't get your head around something. I joined a new partner this week. He'd only been in the business for a couple of weeks, and I drove an hour to go meet her. I spent a couple of hours chatting over things like the CRM system, things like business prospecting, things like what's your plan for the year ahead. Yeah. And I think, again, that's part of what this group is about.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I can remember so many times where I've picked up the phone to yourself, Tom, or yourself, Dan, and actually just come out of a evaluation and they've instructed there and then, and we celebrated that like it was being in an office. So well for it.
Love it, guys. Thank you for your time today. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, guys.